Brian Trenchard Smith is without a doubt my favourite Australian filmmaker, my favourite ozploitation filmmaker. He, of course, made some classics like Turkey Shoot, The Man from Hong Kong, and Dead End Drive-In. But the one I'm going to talk about today is one that eluded me for some reason, and that is Day of the Panther from 1988. So, like The Man from Hong Kong, this one's an Australian-Hong Kong co-production, although it's 95% of it takes place in Perth in Western Australia. And it's about a secretive kung fu cult. Well, that's a fairly minor plot point, but it explains the kung fu prowess of several of the characters, called the Panthers, I believe. And they're trained in the ancient deadly art of Panther kung fu in Hong Kong. But most of the action does take place in Perth, and our hero is, it's fairly thin on plot, but for what it's worth, our hero's taking out vengeance for the usual reasons of not so much killing his brother in this case, killing his partner, who was also a member of the Panther Kung Fu cult, and has been the victim of a criminal cartel based in Perth, of all places. So, quite a cool little movie. The cool thing about this one is it's kind of a kung fu movie set in suburbia. A little bit like The Karate Kid, but in this case, it is the suburbia of late 80s Perth. And quite a cool little sentimental time capsule. I've never been to Perth, but for those of you who were there at that time, you'd probably get a kick out of seeing this one. So all the classic tropes are here. There's even some borderline post-apocalyptic tropes with roving gangs with masks and post-apocalyptic type weapons like machetes and sticks with spikes in them and things like that. So it's almost like Bronx Warriors in some places, this movie. It does take advantage of a very cool, looks like a disused warehouse location, which is pretty sweet. And one of the best fight sequences takes place in that location, and really did remind me a lot of movies like Endgame or Bronx Warriors or 2020 Texas Gladiators. And this one reminded me a lot of the tropes of action or martial art movies of the 80s. I mean, in the late 80s, early 90s, and even the early 80s. One of the best ways to establish that some criminal was a criminal mastermind, a big shot, was to have them fully suited up in a tailored fitted suit with their similarly suited up cronies, having a meeting inexplicably around the side of a pool, while bikini clad women frolic in the background. So that was the best way to establish that someone was a big shot back in the 80s, in 80s cinema and 90s cinema, or at least early 90s cinema, when anyone that did own a swimming pool was king, and anyone that owned a swimming pool in one of these movies was probably a drug kingpin, as is the case here. And an even better way to establish that some criminal mastermind is a big shot in these sort of movies, and they do it in this one, is that he does have a meeting where everyone else is wearing suits, and everyone else is wearing all the latest styles and fashions, and the criminal mastermind himself is, of course, in a robe. So this movie pulls out all the stops with those important drug cartel meetings, which are, of course, about kumite-style tournaments, blood sport-style tournaments, of course. All that stuff was pretty big around that time period, and Brian Trenchard Smith takes full advantage. So, Day of the Panther is a very incoherent movie. It was shot back-to-back with another Panther movie, a sequel, which I'll check out at some stage. In the best, so it was shot back-to-back in the best frugal spirit of ozploitation, or of exploitation in general. And they even advertised the second one as coming soon in the credits, so I will check that one out at some stage. But all in all, Day of the Panther is good ozploitation fun. It doesn't really feel like a Hong Kong Australian co-production. It feels more like a dodgy Australian ozploitation production. As I said, it does feel like Bruce Lee in the Australian suburbs. So it does have an odd sort of a vibe. There's even action sequences in school basketball courts and things like that, which is a little bit different and could be underwhelming if you go into it with the wrong sort of attitude. But if you're after something quirky, something fun, something different, and something that's definitely a time capsule of an Australian city in the late 80s, then you can't go too far wrong with Day of the Panther for a fun evening's viewing. There's also a few unusual aspects to this movie. There's a bizarre love interest who's a dancer, and it seems to be an excuse for her to sandwich a few dance sequences into the movie. She must have been dating someone, I guess, and the whole we all know how that ends up when a filmmaker or a producer or someone like that's dating a model or whoever. Generally, it does all end in tears with a stilted, uneven performance, and that's the case here. So I don't know who she was dating, whether it was Brian Trenchard Smith or one of the money men, one of the investors, or one of the actors, but it is quite an unusual addition to the mixed bag of kung fu, action, and ozploitation elements in this movie. I don't know that it needed a few weird gymnasium dancing sequences, but we get them anyway. But don't let that dissuade you. If you're anything like me, that's just made you more curious. So it probably is a good idea to check out Day of the Panther. And it is a great little ozploitation kung fu time capsule. And I'll definitely check out the sequel, which we are informed about in the credits. And I can't remember what that one's called off the top of my head, but I'm assuming it's something else of the Panther. And I'll find out later when I'm editing this and popping in a poster for that one, just in case you want to check out the sequel, which I'll definitely do at some stage. So as always, hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for joining me. And if you did enjoy this video, by all means, please like, share and subscribe. This channel's all about strange and unusual cinema and strange and unusual culture and strange and unusual things, anything that fits into that universe, that reality. Even though they aren't as strange as our current reality a lot of the time, this movie's downright normal compared to normality in 2026, but it is what it is. So as I said, thanks for joining me. Hope I'll see you next time, and as always, take it very easy.